Alright, boys and girls, we're back here on the 2286cc build, and we're going to put it together hopefully soon here. So we're going through, this is a CB crank, flange crank, and a CB case and king bearings. So there's been issues with this. So apparently, depending on what you think, which way you think, they either drilled the tang in the wrong spot, the relief for the tang, or they drilled the oil holes in the wrong spot. Either one is actually correct. So if you take a bearing, all these bearings are exactly the same. They drilled the hole in the same spot and the tangs are in the same spot. Okay, so you can either put it in this way or flip it around and put it this way. If you put it this way and try and line the oil hole up with the tang lining up in said spot, alright, let's see, turn the light on, does that help? A little bit. You can see the bearing does not sit in the cradle all the way. It is actually sticking out towards the flywheel. But the oil groove lines up fairly well. If you take the bearing, flip it the other direction, put it in this tang. Sorry boys and girls, trying to do this one-handed. I'm not going to stick this all the way in there because it doesn't need to be. You can see now it lines up with the side of the case really well, like it should. But now you have no oil hole. Okay, so you have two options here. I've seen people talking about moving the hole over, filling it with epoxy, and re-drilling it so that the oil hole lines up with the oil hole in the bearing. That's one option. Or you could flip the bearing over so the tang is at the top of the case and the oil hole no longer aligns, but you drill a new oil hole. And that is the route I am choosing to take. So what I've done is I put some paint on here to mark it. Stuck my bearing down there nice and hard and let it sit for a minute, get the paint nice and dry, and then flipped it over and it made a witness mark on it, and I was able to scribe that on there. And then I can drill the bearing. Not the best idea, should all bolt up, but you know, that's life, nothing works anymore. If you're thinking, well, maybe you have the wrong bearing the wrong side, if you look, tang's at the top, hole's there. Tang's at the top, hole is there. Tang at the top, right? Hole is there on the left top side. Tang at the top, hole on the left side. They are all the same for number 2 and number 3 bearing. Number 1 bearing, the one towards the flywheel, believe it or not, and these suckers fit in here, by the way, boys and girls. These things are tight. I'm not going to push this all the way down. The tang lines up and the oil hole lines up fairly well. I did scribe on here just a little bit to see where I'm going to have to go. It is going to have to get aligned a little better, but that should not be too big of a problem. Next thing I've noticed here is the oil relief holes, the relief plungers, where they seat down here, is not bad, but not great. All right, so the bore, you know, right here is the threads and stuff, that doesn't really matter, but the bore where it seals is okay, but down at the head where the cutter goes, it looks like it has a little, like it chattered a little bit. So I'm going to take my plunger, put a little bit of valve grinding compound on the top of it, put a wood dowel on the end of it, put it down there, spin it around, mate this plunger with this hole, that plunger with that hole, and we're going to keep those separate so they should theoretically mate better. Next thing is the case itself has been machined, and it's got nice little machine work marks everywhere. Alright, but although that looks pretty and all that, everything is sharp, okay? They don't take time to clean these things. There's sharp valleys and stuff right here, and there's no sharp corners. You don't want sharp corners because they make stress risers. In other words, it's a place for it to crack. Alright, so we're going to end up going in here and smoothing all this stuff out, making the stress risers disappear and make the case a little easier when you get your fingers in there. You don't cut yourself up. Next problem I think that should be attended to is with any of these. Let's go over here. Alright. Is they fill these things in. Alright. They fill in these webs and all that. But if you look, your oil drain back from your breather is really small. It's smaller in there. The passageway right up here, no longer existent. Passageway right here, no longer existent. Passageways here, a little bit there, but not much. So you need to go in my opinion, you need to come in here and at least clean these up, alright? Because even the hole on the top does not look as big as stock, alright? So we're going to go in here with sanding drum, clean some of this up, get some of the gnarly stuff off there. You know, will it make a big difference? I don't know, but it just seems right. Alright, especially that area right here looks like something could fall off that. Fall down in the case and cause a bad day. Next thing is the sump. The consensus is not many people like this, but this is probably what they use for Auto Linea for the stock ones. CB does sell the longer extension already welded on one of these. They actually make a new one, and it's the German style with the flat top. A lot of people say that's the way to go, so that's the way we are going to go. Alright, with a flange crank, they had the machine the backside here for a bigger seal. I'm probably going to enlarge this hole a little bit here, because I've heard that the scat cranks back in the day used to push the seal out because I don't know if it's because they didn't have this hole, relief hole here drilled or not all the way, or what the deal was, but I've heard people say that they used to build pressure up and it would actually, the seal would migrate out. I guess you could put a little bit of sealing compound on there to seal it in, but I think if I make this drain back hole a little bit bigger, that should relieve some of the issues there with probably venting or whatever it was. But anyways, that's it. We are going to fit all our other bearings in here. The front nose bearing is just a standard Volkswagen bearing. There's nothing special about that. The King bearings, of course, are what they are. They do have little relief grooves in them there to let the oil drain back on both sides. CB says they should come in at 5 thousandths for in play. We will see that when we go to get that far. But for right now, we just have to get oil holes to line. So that's what we're going to be doing later on. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll have this thing done in a while, and we can go out and run it in the Manx. So I'll see you guys later. Get out there, get your boats going, let's have some fun.